Hello everyone, it's Brian here, and I'm going to do part 3 of what I called bad album covers, or bad record covers. I'm not sure what I called it. I could look it up, but I haven't yet. But I will. A year and a half ago I did part 1, in which I showed 5 what I thought were terrible record covers, and then about a year ago I did part 2, which was 5 more terrible record covers. I didn't look them up. I could have, but I know that I haven't made any duplicates here, so these are 5 more to add to the bad record covers. And these are just things I don't like. Doesn't mean I don't like the record. I just think that they don't really work very well as album covers. So let's start with a record from 1984 from this band. It's their third record. It's A Flock of Seagulls, The Story of a Young Heart. This does have an embossed title here. I should say something with the record. The More You Live, The More You Love is probably the song you would know from here, although I think there were 3 singles. Now, I suppose, to be charitable, you could argue that the 2 items shown here are items that are associated with declarations of love, flowers and jewelry. That's about as far as I'll go in that. I think, for one thing, there's too much negative space on this cover. The black background, I think, is kind of overwhelming. And I think that if the best you can do is come up with a design that seems to be using found items in your house, I think that's a bit strange. Also, I think that if the average person could create a cover like this, maybe you're going in the wrong direction, because I think everyone has jewelry. Oh, here's a flower. Let's make an album cover. I just think it doesn't work. On the back, we have a photo of the band, and then we have this flowers and the pendant again, and this scene of a cityscape, a skyline at night, which leads you to believe that someone's sleepless, or I don't know what's going on there. But I just never liked this record from the first moment I saw it. In fact, I didn't like it so much I thought the record would be terrible too. And it's not terrible. The first 2 records are better, but inside we just have photographs. I'm not going to give them all a score, but in this one, I'd probably give it a 1 out of 10. I don't think it's that great. Number 2 is this band's 6th record from 2014, and it's a good example of maybe when your favorite band does something that you don't appreciate, and that's from the Hold Steady, an album called Teeth Dreams. In fact, would you even be able to, I guess you would be able to read that without the hype sticker, but it's pretty odd. The big problem for me on this cover is that the brownish color here is a little too close to diarrhea in color, I think. And the way it's streaked over dreams and teeth, I think it's kind of ugly. Like, the whole thing doesn't really, what is it? It doesn't really give an idea of what it means, and I think the design is terrible. Now, I'm not a graphic designer by any stretch of the imagination. I do like the band's album covers generally. Like, for example, their 2nd record I think is a fantastic cover. I love it, and I like all the other ones, but this is the one that doesn't really hold up for me. Now, the record itself is pretty good. Unfortunately, the keyboard player, now I'm forgetting his name, Franz Nicolai, left after the previous record, so I think it suffers a bit from that. They added a guitarist, but I think the lack of keyboards were a bit problematic for them. But it's not a bad record. It's not their best, and the inside doesn't have anything special. It just has lyric sheets. Oops. And we have this, and then we have Teeth Dreams again on this kind of like awful color, brown. I think my dad had a word for that color, which I won't mention right now, but I think that's pretty awful. Number 3, this is the band's 21st record from 1977. That's the Beach Boys. This is called Love You. I read about this, and it seems that the cover is inspired by a Navajo rug, so I get that, I see that, and I think in today's culture or climate, maybe that would be considered cultural appropriation, since none of these members are Navajo, as far as I know. There they are at the back, even though some have argued that this is really a Brian Wilson solo record. Apparently the working title for this was Cowabunga, which references a character in Howdy Doody, which predates me, so I've never seen the show, and I don't know about that. But think this is an awful cover. I think it's really ugly. I was in a thrift store once and I paid $1.99 for this, no tax. I thought, wow, Beach Boys record. That sounds pretty good. And I brought it home, and I have 4 kids. This was the second youngest, who was 3 at the time. So I guess I was 3 at the time. Said, I showed her this. I was gonna put it on, but she's like, no, you. She didn't want me to put it on, so I had to wait till she was in bed because I think she thought the album would sound as awful as the cover, which it kind of does in a way. Some people call this the Beach Boys punk record. Other people call it like a synth pop record. I'm not sure I've been able to reconcile those two opposing opinions. However, if you want a good sense and you don't know it, I think Johnny Carson is probably the song you should listen to. It's just weird. But yeah, I think it's awful. Let's be honest, it's awful. Now, number 4. This artist's 12th record from 1989, and this is Elvis Costello with No Attractions. They were gone. I don't know what happened. And he's joined on a couple tracks by Paul McCartney, who also wrote a couple tracks, so a little Beatles influence there. Now, I have Scottish heritage, so I appreciate a nice tartan. This one, however, I do not. I think it's a pretty ugly tartan. I'm sorry to insult whoever's clan that is. It's not mine. And then we have The Beloved Entertainer written below this plaque, which seems to be a place where you would hang the head of your big game kill. So we have Elvis Costello's face below the title spike with this spike for an eye. I think that had his entire face been painted black, we would have heard lots about blackface and how awful that is. Because it's only half, I haven't really heard that. I did a search trying to find people who had comments about the half blackface here, and I struggled to find anything. I'm not sure exactly what it means. I think it's super ugly. Everything together is super ugly. Like the plaque itself, the tartan, the font, the face, this awful blue thing or whatever color that is around his head. I think everything about this cover is truly distressing, and I hate it. I think any cover would have been better. This is at the back. It mentions, Paul McCartney co-wrote Veronica and one other track. He plays bass on a couple things. And we have some other famous musicians you might know about, like Mitchell Froom, Ben Montench, Jim Keltner, and other people. There's the inside. But I think this is a giant fail. Awful. And lastly, the band's 5th and final record. From what year is this? Did I write it down? 1970. This is Simon and Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Water. You may have remembered there was a meme that went around a few years ago where if you cover up this part of Paul Simon, it looks like Art Garfunkel's wearing a giant mustache, which is pretty funny. It does lead you to wonder why they were placed in this manner. Why would you put short Paul Simon in front of tall Art Garfunkel and thereby block half his face off? It emphasizes the difference in height between the two. It makes it look like it's the world's first photobomb. It does look like Art Garfunkel has a kind of crazy mustache. Nothing about this photograph works. Nothing about this album cover works. I think it's probably their worst album cover. Well, it's a bold statement, but maybe it's true. And then it doesn't get better on the back with this weird, but oddly that would have been a better cover photo if you ask me. It's just, that looks like a goofy photo that wouldn't really inspire confidence in the music, but I think this is just dreadful. Like, why would you do that? So, even the color of the Simon and Garfunkel is wrong if you ask me. Everything about this cover is wrong. And I never liked the lyrics on the album jacket, but that's another story. So, anyway, that's my take on 5 more bad album covers, and I'll try to do another one maybe early next year. But thanks for watching, and I hope you have a nice day. I'll talk to you next time.